Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. I hope you're having a great day too. Man, the show, just in the last week, has really taken off. I'm getting like 800 downloads a day. Got an extra 110 subscribers on YouTube just over the past 5 days. It's growing, and I appreciate that, guys, and I'm thankful that you guys are all listening to it, recommending it to your friends, recommending it to strangers. It's really, really taking off, and I appreciate that. I really do. I also wanted to say I got some more fan art earlier this week from Ben via email. We'll post it in the show notes, and then it'll be in the YouTube video. Apparently, he's actually making what he called a PowerPoint level animation of the Thomas Dick episode. So yes, Mungo. Mungo is in the episode, and so those drawn to there. I appreciate all that fan art. It's amazing, guys. Thank you. I never really thought... No. I'll save that till Monday. I got this other weird piece of information that I'll talk about on Monday involving the show, but we got a lot of stuff to cover today, so I can't. Thank you, Ben. But yeah, I just can't keep going on about how awesome you guys are. Sorry. So, because people do, I gotta do the episode. We got a lot to cover. So the first thing we're gonna look at is conflicting ideas of what happens after you're dead. Now, obviously, that's something that religion has. You either go to most religions, some of you are reincarnated, but you go to a paradise or you go to a hell, a punishment place. Now, recently I found this creepypasta, and some of you guys may have already heard about this, but I found some interesting details about it and wanted to give you my own take on it. The photo is a naked man holding an ice block and what appears to be poop, and notably a micro Korg keyboard in the upper left-hand corner. Now, I can't put the photo on YouTube because they'll just take the video down because the dude's naked. But I'll have it in the show notes. But let me read you this creepypasta here real quick. This isn't a creepypasta channel, but I think it's interesting to dissect this, because there's some weird stuff going on. Clifford Hoyt, age 31, suffered serious injuries in an automobile accident in 1999. After he regained consciousness, he told a terrified nurse that he had died and visited hell. He expounded on the tortures and anguish he experienced in frightening detail. He refused psychological treatment and was released. Several weeks later, Hoyt's neighbors complained to their landlord that strange music was playing in his apartment at all hours of the night. Upon investigating, the building's owner found Clifford in this condition. So the photograph, he's naked, he's holding an ice block, there's a bunch of poop, and there's a micro Korg in the background. He left and contacted Mr. Hoyt's family, who contacted authorities. Clifford claimed that demons from hell were still trying to capture him. He explained that his body would burn incessantly unless he played music to scare the demons away. He would only leave the house for short periods of time to get minimal supplies, including large blocks of ice, to soothe the burning he felt as he tried to sleep. Doctors attribute Clifford's actions to brain damage suffered in the accident. He currently resides in a mental rehabilitation facility in Maryland. So I came across this. It's a kind of older creepypasta, but I came across this pretty recently. I was like, oh, that's creepy, but it's most likely fake. So I immediately just started tracking where this came from. Now, here's the interesting stuff about this. Again, I don't just want to read creepypasta. I read that and I was like, I've heard people saying that when they die, they've had life after death experiences of going to hell. They're far more rare, but you do see them. But here's the thing, this apparently happened in 1999. The micro Korg was not invented until 2002. So whether or not the story is true, the photo isn't. The photo was not taken in 1999. Secondly, there was really a Clifford Hoyt. His name is actually Gary Clifford Hoyt, and he had a car accident in 1999. But he died in that car accident. He was the single fatality of that car accident. The other two people in the other car survived. So there really was a guy named Clifford Hoyt, full name Gary Clifford Hoyt, and he did have a serious car accident, but he died. This was my take on this, that it's most likely just creepypasta that they picked that name out at random and it happened to match, or more likely, somebody knew of that car accident and created this story. But here's my little take on this. What if this is almost like a Carnival of Souls type of thing? Now, Carnival of Souls is that movie where, spoiler alert, it's like 40, 50 years old, but this woman gets in a car accident, and then she gets out of the car, and she goes to this town, and it's super creepy, and there's a bunch of ghosts chasing her around, and at the ending, it turns out that she really died in the car accident all along. But people interacted with her while she was not knowing she was dead. So was it all in her head? The people she was interacting, were they real? Maybe this is a example of that. I know that sounds super far-fetched, but it's just the story is weird to me. I don't know. Like, I read it, and when I was doing my research, I thought, I feel like there's a little bit more to this than just the standard creepypasta. Did he both die in that car accident, continue to live to have these horrible hallucinations, and end up in a mental institution, but really, he died in the car accident? I don't know if I'm making sense, but yeah, like, and would we know? Like, could this possibly be a Mandela effect type situation where reality has splintered and we have a foot in both realities? The one where he died and the one where he's locked up. Probably not. Probably not. But I think it's an interesting story. And again, there's just something still not sitting right with me. But I read that, and the next day I read this other article about life after death. Very, very fascinating thing going on. So now we're going from wherever this dude died, because I didn't write that down in my notes. We're going to New York State, the Big Apple, the state that never sleeps. We're going to a place called Hospice Buffalo, which that's the name of it, Hospice Buffalo. Now, it's not a hospice in the shape of a buffalo, which would be where I would want to die. I think it's just a hospice in the city of Buffalo, and they just named stuff really badly. Over there's a guy named Dr. Kerr. And he sounds like a bad guy. He sounds like he is like an old-timey villain for an old-timey Batman. But Dr. Kerr is actually a guy running this hospice. And one time he was sitting there and he's thinking, you know what? I think I could let this patient live longer if I changed the IV. Like if I gave them a different IV thing. And he's thinking about it. So he went to get the patient. And the nurse was with the patient. And he goes, hey, I think I'm going to set up this new IV thing. And the nurse goes, let me get her actual quote here. Because this was a real event. Dr. Kerr says, I walked in and the nurse didn't even look up. And she said, no, he's dying. And I said, why are you saying that? And she said, well, he's seen his deceased mother. And Dr. Kerr said he just kind of laughed, kind of chuckled, like, you know. And the man died shortly after that. And he started to notice a pattern. His staff, because he was running everything, so he'd see the patients, but he wasn't in that day-to-day seeing every patient all the time. His staff knew when people were going to die. Not in a creepy Final Destination sort of way, but they had gotten used to when people start talking about seeing their mom or seeing their sister or seeing people who had passed before them. The nurses all knew they're going to be dead in a short while, a couple weeks, a couple days maybe. And so Dr. Kerr said, you know what, let's start recording these incidents. Let's see if there's any sort of patterns. So for 10 years at Hospice Buffalo, they've started recording these incidents. 14,000 cases. 80% of the people who pass away have a dream or a vision where a loved one comes back to them. And they've actually been able to identify certain themes. And he said one of the most common themes is travel. They'll have dreams where they're packing their bags. So weird. And he goes, their body is old and broken, but their brains are still very, very active. So they'll start seeing their mom or their brother or their best friend who passed away before them. They'll dream about them. They'll see them in the room sometimes with a vision. And then they'll start having dreams where they're packing stuff up, getting ready for a journey, a long journey. Now, these aren't just the people who are having these dreams also say they're incredibly detailed. They're their most incredibly detailed dreams they've ever had. They wake up sobbing because they're seeing someone that they miss. And the person is bringing a sense of peace to them. And it's funny because the reporter asked Dr. Kerr, so what do you think the scientific explanation for this, or do you think it's a religious explanation for this? And his response was, it doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know, and it doesn't matter. He says they should just be respected, period. As far as, like, these experiences they're going through, just respect that these people are actually having them. The saddest thing in it, because it's very heart-lifting. Is that a word? It's very affirming to know that you see those people who left before you helping you on that journey. I thought this was the saddest part of the story. Little kids. Little kids who they're young, so they haven't had a lot of loss in their life. You know, you're 6, you're 7, and your parents are still around, your best friends are still around, your grandparents are still around. They dream about their pets. They dream about any pets that they've lost. Little puppies. Isn't that is so sad. But it's sad to me. But again, it's affirming to that little boy or that little girl who's kind of scared. Because they're passing away, but then they see their little puppy, Rover. And they just dream that they're petting their puppy that they lost 2 years ago. And that makes them at peace. That makes them at peace as their body is failing. When they sleep, they're playing with their puppy that they're soon going to be reunited with. The big question is this, and so those studies are going on, and they're not being done in any sort of scientific way. They're just logging these dreams and visions. The big question is this. This is what happens to people who are dying in a hospice situation. Is there something similar to this if your head gets chopped off, or you fall off a bridge, or you get riddled with bullets in a drug deal gone wrong? Like, is there a correlation between these two things? I would think yes. And this is, again, going back to the whole Carnival of Souls type thing. Like, let's say I'm sitting in my apartment, and a bunch of gangbangers raid it, and just blow my brains out. That event is going to take a total of 3 minutes. From the point where they knock down the door to the point that I snap 2 of their necks and stab another one in the chest, do a witty one-liner, throw them out the window, and then the shotgun's to the back of my head, and I'm like, damn it. As that bullet enters my brain, I almost think that the brain runs into a bullet time mode, and I'm able to have those same affirming experiences. I think at the moment that you die, whether it takes 3 weeks for you to die or 3 seconds for you to die, I think your brain still processes that. And my backup for that is when you dream, dreams seem like they're hours or months, or I've had dreams that have lasted decades. But it really was only 3 seconds in my brain that was shooting that spark. But to me, it felt like 70 years in my dream. So I do think that's possible. I think that in the moment of death, like the horrible torture you go through will probably be, I shouldn't say will, but let's say that you fall into a wheat thresher, feet first. That's awful, but I think at the last moment you do find that peace. As fleeting as it may seem, physically, mentally, it is on par of a little girl holding her puppy. I think at the moment of death, you are at peace in your brain. It gives you a good dream. I don't think anyone ever really dies horribly. That was a clip from our daily podcast, Dead Rabbit Radio. Dead Rabbit Radio is available anywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime news. If you want to hear the full episode that this clip came from, check the link below. Please like and subscribe. And hit that little bell, too. That does some magical stuff. Thanks, guys.